Gentlemen, I wish you success in your endeavor. I'm sorry I was not able to join you in person because the visa procedures are uh, taking lots of time. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you about is what is so called in Israel the symmetries of numbers, which is an Israeli innovation of a cruelty. This topic, which is, I think, it is unique to Israel, which is Israel arrests the slain bodies of Palestinians who are killed in combat or in operation. The Israelis are withholding on these corpses uh, without any legal justification or legal ground. However, there were press reports that those techniques are used by Israel to steal organs of the bodies to use them for Israeli soldiers or Israeli civilians. But they are a method of cannibalizing organs of bodies to use them for Israelis. The most important feature of this technique is that when the Israeli authorities or army withhold on those bodies, whether they bury them in uh, special military zones or in refrigerators. In both cases, the army would not release such bodies unless they receive a court order or there is an event of a swap between them and the Palestinians, like the swap of prisoners, Israeli prisoners swap for those bodies. But the technique of releasing those bodies require 13 steps by the Israeli army of the family of the deceased. For example, they have to notify them 4 days ahead of time. They deliver the body 2 hours before burial. They impose on the family to bury the body about within 1.5 hours from the time they deliver the body. They have to limit the number of mourners who accompany the body to the graveyard. They should be warned that no incitement, no slogans, nothing. And they have the family of the deceased should post a bond to respect all the rules imposed by the military governor. All these things are really intended to subjugate the Palestinian families and the Palestinian public. They are, in effect, a form of collective punishment, which is prohibited in international law. Collective punishment because the whole family, the parents, the siblings, the relatives are all suffering because of that crime. Now, this is again against the rules of international law, customary international law, and conventional international law. Customary international law, as evidenced in the Hague Convention of 1907, in the Convention number 10, dictated on the fighting armies to, after the combat, after the calm period, they have to evacuate the field and to bury the dead soldiers with observing, the identity of the dead body and identifying the burial site, and to convey all this information to the state to which those bodies belong. Geneva Conventions, all of them, especially 1 and 2, they also impose respect for the dead bodies, and they should be protected against any inhuman acts. Now, the violation of these imperative duties of international law, they can be labeled as war crimes or crimes against the humanity. If we take the Rome Convention, the International Criminal Court can punish state officials for violating the principles of protecting the bodies, in particular, Article 7, Paragraph 1, which says, other inhumane acts of similar character intentionally causing great suffering or serious injury to body or to mental or physical health. No doubt that the family who's waiting for their son to be released are suffering from mental health, psychological pain, and for really distressing circumstances. This is a crime under the Rome Convention, under the ICC charter. The same thing can be said of the Article 8.2 of the Rome Statute, which says grave breaches of the Geneva Conventions, namely any of the following acts against persons or property protected under the provision of the relevant Geneva Convention. The provisions of various Geneva Conventions dealing with dead attackers have been systematically violated, a fact which constitutes a grave breaches, since the behavior of the occupying power amounts to a collective punishment of the protected civilians. Now, this is the case that is we are addressing tonight, about the arrest of the dead bodies by Israel. And this should require now an appeal to the UN General Assembly to have the General Assembly pass a resolution to order Israel to release those bodies and to stop this criminal practice. Number two, the Palestinians, especially the NGOs of the active NGOs in Palestine, they should bring this crime to the attention of the Human Rights Council in order to condemn Israel for this practice and to call on Israel to stop such practice. Thank you.